Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Rob Rivera with Who's On First, the show. And today I bring you Major League Talent. We got Bob Semerano and his son Rob Semerano. And Bob used to play with the Pirates back in the 70s. He's gonna let us know what's going on. Hey Bob, introduce yourself.
Hey, Robert, how are you?
I'm good.
That's good.
So where you at? Where you let us know where you at, how old you are.
Yeah, so we're in Brick, New Jersey now. We're originally from Orange County, New York. We have a baseball academy down here, big league talent, and Dad lives right across the street from me, so he's my go-to throwing partner when I'm going through my throwing routine. And for close to 69 years old, he does a pretty good job of still catching me, and he's still got a pretty good arm too.
All right. So Bob, I mean, you played back in the 70s. Like, what's the difference that you see today you wish you could have done back in the 70s?
I think the biggest thing is when you look at like pitchers, back then when it came to weightlifting and training, strength wise, it was kind of like taboo. They didn't want us lifting weights. They didn't want us doing like heavy squats or bench. And you see these pitchers today; they're big, strong guys. And I think what it's done is it's allowed the game to get faster because of their power. And I think, if you look at the game, I know back when I signed, they said at the time in 1975 that the average major league fastball was 85 miles an hour.
Okay.
Now you have guys that are throwing a 91, 92 mile an hour changeup. So I think the game has gotten a lot faster. I think the conditioning is a lot better. And I think, it's just a natural progression from, 35 years ago. Well, now 50 years ago. And, we still had guys, of course, there were guys like Nolan Ryan and Tom Seaver and, before him, like Sandy Koufax, that could throw the ball in mid to upper 90s. But today it's so commonplace that the game is so fast. And, I think batters today see the starting pitcher, twice maybe in the game. And then they see a middle reliever maybe once. And then they see a closer once. So, to see a guy like Aaron Judge doing what he does on the ball field, I can't understand how people can't say that he has to be one of the top 4 or 5 greatest players that's ever played the game, because he's facing pitching talent that's unbelievable, pitching talent that is so powerful, and he gets to see maybe the starter twice on the average.
Okay.
And what he does with his average, what he does with his power, I think is something that transcends any era that has played before him. And I think if he played against that talent that we had back in the 70s, which was, like I said, was still very, very good. There were some really talented ball players, but I think as a whole, I think these kids today are much faster and they have more polish, and of course the training's a lot better too, with off-season training and stuff. So
the other thing is, when you back in the day when they put you on the mound, you were expected to go the 9 innings, correct?
We were. My first game that I played, of course, I played in 75 when I first signed with the Pirates. My very first game was an inter-squad game, and I think they had me go 6 innings, 7 innings, and they took me out, and I did quite well. But
who you pitched against and who the umpire was?
Well, the next game I pitched was a inter-squad game, or we stayed at Pirate City.
Okay.
In Bradenton, and the Cubs stayed with us in Pirate City. They both teams played in the rookie league of the Gulf Coast League. And I pitched against this kid named Lee Smith, who 3 years ago was inducted into the Hall of Fame. And he was pitching for the Cubs. I was pitching for the Pirates, and they didn't have umpires that day. So Ernie Banks, who was a roving hitting instructor for the Cubs, stood on the mound calling balls and strikes. And I find it remarkable that 2 of the guys that were on that mound that day wound up in the Hall of Fame. The third guy didn't.
Third guy out, right? The third guy was out.
And he was like, Lee Smith was a tall, thin, I would say 6'4", 6'5" kid, maybe 190, 200 pounds, but could throw gas. And you could see that he had greatness in him.
Okay.
And, the fact that I was standing there on the mound and 2 feet away from me was Ernie Banks called balls and strikes, because I knew who Ernie Banks was just a very surreal feeling to
Okay.
have that kind of greatness right there. It
Okay. So what was your go-to pitch back in the day?
was my fastball.
Fastball?
I had a good fastball. I was signed with a two-seam fastball. And I think the week that I signed, there was a player on our team named Don Robinson, who played with the Pirates and I think the Giants and a couple other teams for 14 years in the big leagues. And he just showed me his grip on the four seam, which was a different grip than my four seamer. But, like I said, I was predominantly a two seam guy then. So I liked the grip. I had good control with it. So I went with it. I went with the four seam. But unfortunately, I think my first full month that I was with the Pirates, I threw a pitch on the mound and I snapped my elbow and I cracked
wow.
the bone in my left and my right arm. And it set me back a little bit. But, I was a tall, thin, 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid that had a good, strong arm, but not a lot of beef on me at the time to protect my arm as far as the arm speed and stuff went. So, yeah, I would say my fastball, I had a curveball when I first signed, and then I developed a slider as time went on, and I worked with a forkball, but never really became very proficient at it.
I did look you up, and I did find one of your baseball cards
Oh, you did?
for the Western Carolina League.
Yes, that's Charleston
And,
Patriots.
Yeah, you can't really see it.
Yep,
Yep, there it is.
yep.
But let me see. I'm trying to get it. I'll look a little better. But I was looking, I was like, wow, you and your son look like identical twins, you guys.
Yeah, there's no denying me as his son. I
No
definitely look
denying
just
you,
like him.
Yeah. I mean, so who were the batters that you faced that you were like, oh man, I gotta face this guy. This guy's a wrecker. He's a hitter. Anybody you ever took down and was like, I'm taking this guy down.
Well, in spring training, I mean, obviously, I would remember a lot of the Pirate players that we played against. Played ball with, as I said, Donnie Robinson, Rick Honeycutt was in the big leagues for years,
Rick
both
Honeycutt,
as
yeah.
pitchers. Then my catcher in 1977 was Tony Pena, who was just an outstanding ball player, outstanding person, outstanding ball player. But he was not really the top catcher in the trio of catchers. The other one was one of the other ones was Junior Ortiz, who also played in the big leagues. But we had a kid named Alfredo Torres, who at the time was a little bit ahead of both of them. And but I don't think he ever made it to the big leagues. But Tony obviously was a gifted talented player that had a great arm, had great eye at the plate. There was a kid with the Pirates named Dorian Boylan, who was supposed to be the heir apparent to Willie Stargell. And he was one of the guys that we all looked up to as far as being a hitter. Some of the guys that I played against, batting wise, I remember we played against Lou Brock's nephew. I'm not sure if he ever made it to the big leagues.
Wade Boggs.
Played against Wade Boggs up in Niagara Falls when I played in the New York Penn League. I don't know. I haven't given much thought of.
Did you ever get
Wally Backman?
Played against Wally Backman, yes, with
Backman.
the Mets. Yep.
Oh, he's tough as nails, that guy.
Yeah, he was.
How about Manny Sanguillen?
Manny Sanguillen was the catcher at the time with the Pirates. He and a guy named Eddie Ott. And Manny came out the one day to watch us play on our field in spring training. We down in Pirate City, they had 4 fields. And after I pitched, one of my teammates came up to me and he said, Manny was standing behind the cage when you were pitching. And he complimented your arm and he complimented your technique. So that was my interaction with Manny Sanguillen noticing me.
Yeah, that's a big kudos. He don't give out too many compliments, Manny.
Manny, no.
He don't give out too many compliments.
Yeah, one of my teammates came up to me and he said that he gave me a nice compliment on how hard I threw and the technique, which my technique, as best as I could do it, was I tried to copy Tom Seaver. I tried to do his drop and drive style. And, Seaver was probably just about 6 foot tall, very strong legs to be able to do it. I was 6'5", and I was trying to do a drop and drive. And I think the only guy at the time in the big leagues that was a big drop and drive guy was Steve Carlton. And he was also 6'4", 6'5". So, yeah, I mean, I tried to mimic his style as best I could. And, it helped me. It really did. It helped me when I was able to keep my arm healthy. The drive out of my legs really did add a lot to my fastball.
Now you're making it into the minor leagues, into the major leagues, and that path to compared to the today's path, because most kids, they don't really see them in high school. They see a little bit in college, but nowadays these guys are being recognized right at 11 and 12. They're going to these World Series. They're doing tournaments. We got Perfect Game. They're going around the world. They're going to Honduras and they're going to Mexico. We'll be in Disney next month, and we'll be, in Arizona in 2 months. I mean, that path, it's a whole different path. So, I mean, how did you get spotted back in the 70s?
I actually had a coach who mentioned to me that there was a tryout in Scranton, PA.
Okay.
And we went to the tryout, and it was, I believe, 1974. I was 17 years old, going on 18. And the gentleman that ran the tryout was a guy named Murray Cook, who eventually became I think the GM of the Montreal Expos, the Cincinnati Reds, and the
Okay.
New York Yankees. But at the time, he was an assistant farm director with the Pirates. And he said, we really like your arm. Would you come back for another tryout, another workout? And I did. It was, I believe it was called Council Rock High School in PA. And again, my coach took me down there, and I threw, and he said, we'd like to offer you a contract today. But at the time, my plan was to go to college, play college football, play college baseball. But that really got the wheels going with the Pirates. So I went away to college, Southern Connecticut, played 1 year of college football. Decided after 1 year playing football that I really wanted to focus on baseball, and called the Pirates up, and I said, if that offer is still on the table, I'd like to talk to you. And he go, well, you're at a 4-year school. We can't take you until you're a junior or 21 years old now. But if you transfer to a junior college, we can pick you up in the draft. So I did. I transferred to our local community college, had a really good season, was invited back for another workout at Westchester, PA college, and had a really good workout, was offered a full ride to play baseball at Miami that day. And a couple other colleges offered me scholarships to continue my education there. And the Pirates said, we're going to draft you in a couple of weeks if that's something that, would still interest you. So I went in the 22nd round, not a real high pick, but I was told years later by Murray Cook, who got to meet Rob when he was with the Yankees down in Florida. He was playing in the Florida State League. He said to me on the phone, because he asked Rob about me, and he said, if you get a chance, give your dad my number. And he says, I'd like to talk with him. He haven't talked to him in 30 some years. And he said, it's a shame you got hurt. He says, at the time that we drafted you, we had you ranked as the best arm in the East. And I said, really? He goes, yeah. He said, we just took a chance in drafting you. He said, we thought you were going to go off to college to Miami. And he said, we took you in the 22nd round. And, but at the time I wanted to play baseball. And I never forgot his words. He goes, many are called, few are chosen. And I remember a lot of times opportunity knocks but once. And I thought about that. And I said, I can go to college and possibly get hurt. So here's my shot. And I signed, and I didn't get a big bonus. I got an opportunity. And, I was able to stay with them. I'm sorry.
How much was that big bonus?
It wasn't a whole lot. It wasn't a whole lot, but it was, it was at least something at the time. Our top picks, our top pick in the draft that year was Dale Berra, Yogi Berra's son.
Okay.
And I think he signed as the number one pick for like 56,000. So compared to what they get today,
Ooh,
Yeah, it's a little different.
I think that's what some of those guys pay in taxes on a weekly.
They have to, yeah. They're blessed with the money they're getting today.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I mean,
yeah,
so
I was with them for just short of 3.5 years, and I never got to the big leagues, but I did play with ball with a lot of guys that did. And from what Murray Cook told me years later, I think I had every opportunity to make it skill wise. It's just that my issue was that I got hurt early, and that arm injury kept rearing its ugly head on me. Every
yeah.
year, it would go from my elbow to my shoulder, back from my shoulder, back to my elbow. In '77, I had a pretty good healthy year as far as playing, but I did leave spring training hurt where I had to go home for a couple months. And then they sent me to Charleston and then finished the season out in Niagara Falls.
Okay. So you guys have a big league talent, right? And you guys are developing kids, showing them how to play the game of baseball. So showing them today the game of baseball. What is one of the things that you guys teach old school but still works today?
Toughness.
Toughness.
Toughness. That's one of the things that we try to preach to the players all the time, that if you want to be a baseball player, you got to be tough. And that means mentally tough, physically tough. And it also means that you have to have a certain level of commitment and discipline. And we always tell the players that being a high level athlete is inconvenient. So you have to be willing to embrace that inconvenience and know that you're going to probably miss a birthday party or two from, family members. You're going to, miss going to this thing or that thing. But what you're not going to miss is, the chance to be able to play on a big stage, the chance to, in our case, we got to pitch professionally. And any quote unquote sacrifices that I made or that my dad made, I don't think we would trade at all for the chance that we had to pitch in front of tens of thousands of people and be able to experience that and play with Hall of Famers and big leaguers. And, so you have to be willing to, that has not changed, that you can't have your cake and eat it too. You have to be able to draw that line in the sand and say, okay, I really want to do this with my baseball career. And that may mean that I can't go rafting with my friends today because I got to pitch tomorrow and I don't want to wear myself out. And,
Right.
It sucks that I have to miss that, but you know what? What's more important is I want to go out there and pitch a great game tomorrow. And that's the path that we chose. And no, zero regrets from either one of us with that. And we basically present that to players, and then it's up to them to then really realize, do I really want to go after this, or am I not willing to make some of those choices?
And
Right.
Rob mentioned toughness. When he was with the Oakland A's, my wife and I went out to Kane County, which is near Chicago, to watch him play the one summer. And we got there to the stadium early to watch him work out. And his manager saw us, and his manager came over to us. And, I complimented him on the job they were doing with Rob. And he goes, sir, he said, I want to tell you, he says, however you guys raised him is what impresses us most because of his work ethic. And they said, we tell the other players when they come into Kane County, when you're working out, you're training, see what Ever Summerano does and try to copy his work ethic, because that's what we're impressed with. And I took that as such a compliment as far as what our plan was. And as Rob says, we tell the kids to be tough. We tell them to have that work ethic and to be dedicated, because it is easy to say, well, my mom and dad have us going to a picnic, or we have relatives coming over. And I always tell them, you know what, go to a ball game first. That way, when you go to the picnic, you have something to talk about.
Yeah.
You don't have to be there for the entire time. Rob missed a lot of family functions as far as in their entirety. But he
Yeah.
would show up and he would get there maybe later in the picnic or whatever it was, but he'd have something to talk about. And I always thought that was pretty cool, because his focus and his dedication to being the best was noticed with every team that he played for. When he played at Fordham, when he played with Oakland, and when he played with the Yankees, Houston, it was always the same theme, that they liked how he went about doing his business.
True.
We mentioned to the kids at our baseball school that, if they come for a lesson, we'll say, did you practice this week? And they'll say, yeah, our team practice. We go, no, I'm not talking about your team practice. We use the expression, what were you doing when nobody else was watching? What are you doing on your own? Are you doing your running? Are you doing your stretching? Are you doing your weightlifting? Are you working on your mechanics? Are you
Hitting balls off the tee.
hitting balls off the tee? Are you doing something? Because, you asked me earlier what the big difference was back when I played. Back then, it was basically the United States and Latin America that they would draw from. Today, it's worldwide. And even though there's 30 teams today, when you're talking about drawing from billions of people now, the pool is a lot bigger.
The pool is
So
bigger.
Rob and I tell them, if you really want to play at the college level, if you really want to play at that next level professionally, the kid that's going for your position may be from California. He may be from Japan, from Puerto Rico, from Dominican Republic, and they want that position. And if you put the time in now, gives you a better shot for that. Because we always tell the kids, we're not going to be the ones that tell you can't do it, because there's going to be enough people like that. Enough people like to tell the kids, well, you don't run fast enough, you don't throw hard enough. As we were saying before, if you have a work ethic, a lot of things start to get better.
Yeah.
Start getting better. And, Rob obviously had very good skills as a young kid, but his work ethic helped him get to the point where he was able to get in front of scouts and turn heads. And, it was a proud moment for my wife, Marianne, and myself, and our Rob's sister, Marcy, that we would go to games and know that the stands were full of scouts to watch him when he was at Fordham. And
Nice.
I would tell the kids today, it was only from hard work. It was hard work, dedication, and toughness, as Rob said. You got to be tough. Football players are tough. Basketball players are tough. Baseball, anybody that plays a professional sport at that level has to be mentally and physically tough.
Yeah. I now I see you got grandkids. You got your grandkids. You got Robbie Jr. You got Luca Bazooka. So you gave him that name. I mean,
Yep.
what do you want out of those guys? What do you
And
think?
then also my nephew Jack, my sister's son Jack. Yeah.
We got Jack too. Oh boy.
Yep.
We got
9,
a killer
10, and
squad.
11.
We got a
Jack's
killer-
9, Luca's 10, and Robbie's 11.
Hey, we got a pitcher, a catcher, and a first baseman.
Yeah.
We almost got a squad.
Going up the middle.
Everything up the middle.
Well, one of the things, Robert, we tell them is that we always had fun playing. Every time we walked on the field, we had fun playing, but we always had more fun when we played well. So you can go out there and, have the other team play so much better than you. Okay, you're playing baseball, so you probably had fun, but it's no fun getting beat 10-1 or having game called off after 4 or 5 innings because of a, mercy rule. So if you're going to do it, put your best foot forward. Go out there and train. Do it as if it means something to you. And I know the kids have a lot of distractions today, especially with the
social media
and the video games. That's a big difference that we didn't have back when I played. Maybe a little bit when Rob played, but today it's a big distraction.
Yep.
And
what do you think of all this brand new equipment? They got these fancy gloves. They got a little plastic thing at the end of the bat that tells them how hard they swung. They got this headgear. They got that. What I call it the oven mitt. They have the oven mitt on the hand, and they got different cleats and different spikes and different sneakers and pants and sliding stuff. I mean, I wish I had all this stuff. See, when I grew up, if we got a batting glove, because I remember when they used to sell them singles. They were you got one batting glove. My dad used to say left or right, left or right, left. And because I wanted the batting glove inside my catcher's hand. And, you got one glove, you didn't get two, you got one. That was it. Hey, left or right, which one you want?
So, when it comes to all the new equipment and drip and everything else, I tell players all the time, what matters at the end of the day is talent and ability. And, you can go out there with one green spike on and one pink spike on with a uniform that's too big for you. But if you go out there as a pitcher and you're throwing gas and you got a great break and pitch and know how to compete, if you're a hitter that can, tear the cover off the ball, these scouts are still going to love you. If you go out there with the best drip in the world, but you can't play, they're not going to care. So it's really about your ability. If having the wristbands on, if having the sliding mitts on kind of gives you that little bit of extra feel that makes you feel good, so it helps you play better, then, I'm fine with that. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the ability. So if it's not contributing to your ability, then it really isn't going to be that consequential.
Yeah. I think of Mariano Rivera talking about how he played with a cardboard glove.
Yes.
Right.
I witnessed my dad. We had my buddy, we were 16 and we were throwing the ball around. And my dad says, your curveball hangs. He said, you need to get down. And my buddy turned around. He says, I can strike anybody out. He goes, yeah, you can strike me out? He said, I can strike you out. He said, lucky we don't have a bat. He goes, hold on. And he goes in the woods and he pulls a branch off a tree. He comes back and he goes, all right, let's go. And I'm looking and I told my friend, I'm like, let's strike him out. Well, 3 pitches later, after he broke the branch, he hit his little curveball, he hit his fastball, and then he hit inside curveball with that tree branch. He put it in center field over second base. He broke the branch and he threw it. He goes, I tell you, curveball hangs. Because you want to learn how to throw a curveball, you come see me. I do pitching clinics. And
That's great story.
And I was like, so to me, it doesn't matter what you have. If you have that ability and you're willing to put out there, but you got to practice. My advice to you kids out there, you young kids out there, every day, do something. My guys, they had their homework. They had to do 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, 20 jumping jacks. That was their prerequisite. I wanted them to hit a ball off a tee, 10 pitches. I want you to throw the ball 10 times, long distance, and do 10 long inside distance, 40 feet, 30 feet. Throw it off against the wall, throw it off to a rock, throw it wherever you want. Doesn't matter. That's all I want you to do. If you can't do the throwing, then at least, hitting off the tee. And it was always my guys. That's all I ever asked. Ain't got nothing fancy. We don't need nothing fancy. You can go a tennis ball. You can throw whatever. Just throw it. Get that arm. I had a good friend of mine was an archery champion back in New York. And his secret was he shot 1 arrow every day. I said, 1 arrow? He says, 1 arrow every day, Rob. Because I get up in the morning, have my coffee, say my prayers, clear my mind, go to the backyard. I shoot my 1 shot. I said, oh, you hit bullseye? He says, I don't even look it. I don't even care where it goes. I don't care if I miss. I don't care if I hit a bird. I don't care. He goes, 1 shot every day, muscle memory, pull it back, boom, release. He goes, I put my bow away. I'm done for the day. Just 1 shot. He said, 1 shot every day. This guy used to come home with trophies, archery champion. It's muscle memory. It's muscle memory. And we're forgetting it because we have the computers and we have the laptop and we got mom and dad with 4,000 cameras on there. And they're showing them the analytics, 105 exit velocity, 97 miles an hour, 300. Come on, man. Let's get back to basics. I like the old basics. I'm old school. I'm with you, Bob.
Agreed.
I'm with you. We old school. And sometimes I don't need no computer. I need no phone to tell me that this guy, the last time he was up, he hit a double. Because I'm still mad at him from the last time he hit the double. So,
Yeah.
It's just the way I was raised. But yeah, listen, I appreciate you being on. And once again, big league talent. And you guys are located where?
The Jersey Shore, Monmouth and Ocean County, New Jersey.
Okay. All right. So how does somebody get in touch with you guys if they somebody take their kids over there, check them out for them?
Yeah, I mean, they can contact us at Semirano@bigleaguetalent.com, or they can call us on our line at 914-850-5960.
All right. Well, the guys, thank you for being on. Bob, pleasure to meet you. I see what you got a picture there. You got that picture there. Let me see that picture again.
I have a picture here, Robert, of Tony Pena as the bench coach for the New York Yankees under Joe Girardi. And that's my dad, Frank, who passed away several years back.
Okay.
And my son, Rob, and myself. And my dad was so proud of this picture that he would actually drive it in his car and he would show it to his friends every time he had a chance to sit and talk with his friends. And he goes, can you believe it? He says, I was able to have a picture taken with a guy in a New York Yankee outfit. and he just loved it. Of course, he loved Tony, and he loved the story behind it and stuff. So yeah, it was something that was very special to my dad and very special to Rob and myself.
Good, good. I'm glad to hear that. All right, guys, thank you for being on. And as we say here on Who's On First, guys, keep swinging.
If you like the show, please do me a favor. Subscribe. Right. You see it? It's right there. Subscribe, share, like, and don't forget, put that bell on. It'll ding you when I put something else on, all right?